recently I've been doing a lot of research on estradiol, and estradiol actually activates a serotonin receptor site in the brain that makes us happy. And for women who are going through menopause, as we go through menopause, estradiol goes away. It's no longer necessary. So we're left with a serotonin receptor site that isn't activated. So we have to makes us depressed. In fact, 42% of women that go through menopause hit depression, are clinically depressed. So one of my new cries to women is we need as many tools to help with depression as possible. So talk a little bit about the new studies that you're seeing on depression, because I just see this sauna working from so many angles for menopausal women. And I think, when we're depressed, we turn on ourselves. We don't think it's, we don't think that, there's anything we can do about it. We just live in it. And that's really a hard place to be when you're year after year after year.
So there is two studies that I'll reference. So one is Dr. Raison's from Wisconsin, his original study that every time I say it, it just is mind blowing because they studied depressed patients and put them in a infrared heated device that is in Germany, but it was this $50,000, a very, very expensive device. And their goal was to elevate their core temperature. That kind of comes back to everything we talked about at the very beginning. And the conclusion, without taking too much time, was that in one session, that's the thing that just blows my mind. In one session, they found the depression symptoms were relieved for up to 6 weeks, one session. And mechanism, was the elevation in core temperature, as well as the other thing that some other physicians studied in a different study is that the skin, and this is what's the value of infrared versus hot air, the skin really appreciates the heat, makes the skin communicate with the brain that it's happy. Ooh. So there's this happy connection. It's like, and it's just this really interesting brain skin heated, where it's not too hot, which is the value of infrared, right? Because you're not you're not uncomfortable. You should be enjoying the session. So that was Dr. Raison's study. There's been other studies very similar that say the same results. But what's really exciting, well, that's exciting, but what's extra exciting is Dr. Ashley Mason is now doing a study in California that mimics what Dr. Raison did, but she's doing it in a way to make it accessible for people in their home. And so she's using a portable lie-down model that looks just like the Solo, that's infrared. And the goal is, she's already done the first part, which is, will it heat up the core temperature? Will it heat, core temperature? One of the values is doing it slowly with depression. So that's another benefit of, just, hey, get in. Don't worry about if you have time or not, just get in, even if it's not hot. You don't need it to be hot. It's about baseline with increase, right? So, the longer you're in there, the better, because it's going to elevate, but you don't have to wait until it's hot because the infrared will get into your body. It's actually better for your body when it's cooler because it'll be absorbed faster because it's easier to get in versus the hotter it gets, then it gets, shorter, et cetera. So it's really exciting because soon she's going to be able, to give so far all the results and everything has been really promising. But the issue with Dr. Raison's is, it's in Germany. The accessibility, how do people do that at home? So to be able to have a tool, which we have, the Solo, which we know we measured the core temperature years ago. We know we can increase the core temperature, which is the point in question, and that leads to happier people longer. And you don't need a lot of sessions in those studies, but my thought is, if it makes you happier, why not do it all the time?
Right.
Well,
and then again, I'd always look this through a menopausal woman's lens, and we need as many tools for happiness.
Right.
That we can find. So if 10 minutes in the sauna, it makes us happier. What a gift. It detoxes you. It balances your parasympathetic. It's a lot. As much as I love a glass of wine, it's a lot more healthy than a glass of wine in the sense, but it has that, and it also has that cumulative effect where once you start to feel a little bit better, and then the next day you feel a little bit better, and then, weeks go by, months go by, and you're like, wait a second, I'm not even in the sauna now. I'm happy. I think that's what we need is a building of happiness, and whereas the glass of wine feels good in the moment, the next day not so good. So I'd be actually really interested in if you have those studies, seeing them.
Yeah.
We'll link them here.
ton
Yeah.
there's a lot, and they're all great. And it's, to me, if you know about a tool that can help people kind of, change that switch in the brain that, like Dr. Rayson says, he's like, I think it's a thermoregulation. There are lots of theories. One's a thermoregulation, one is the skin aspect connection to the brain. I mean, I think there may be more than one thing that's going on, right?
Yeah.
But the thermoregulation that switch is that it has been shown people with depression aren't able to naturally cool themselves down at night.
Oh.
And so if if their body stays warm and they're not able to, then you don't have that change, which your body needs that change in order to have a good night's sleep. And then as you're waking up, then things start to change and the hormones start to change and your body knows, okay, now I wake up and you should be, wake up happy, etc.
Right.
So infrared, the heat, that experience, that study, Dr. Rason would say, helped change the thermoregulation in the body. So now when they measured them, they were able to, by unlocking that switch of, hey, I'm stuck, I can't cool down. Well, now I'm increasing your core temperature, which is now making the body cool down. When
It's like a
out.
hormetic stress. It's like a hormetic stressor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like fasting.
So now it can do it on its own.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't need that every single day, which is why that the results happen, extended for 6 weeks. So, I mean, what a gift to be able to have a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. For every woman over 40 is like, yeah, sign me up for that. So
Right.
I absolutely. And that's the interesting thing about fasting is that your body becomes so reparative with a little bit of stress like that your results in the fasting window get better and better and better. It's not like you're just healing when you're fasting. What we've seen over time is that you're healing more and more and more with the shorter and shorter fasts, which that's what the comment you just made. I was thinking, yeah, it's kind of the same concept where you flipped a switch where the body has now put itself into a healing state, a more expansive state. And you're going to keep that state as long as you don't bombard it with more stressors. Would that be a way of looking at that?
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, I want to say that I've watched the whole biohacking movement and I feel like tools like infrared went from optional to everybody's getting one. And then I also see this dilemma that a lot of people have, which is, do I get the one that I put in my backyard and has rocks and I just sweat like crazy, or do I get an infrared? And after experiencing both, they are totally different tools. That's the way I look at it, and especially for a menopausal woman, because I don't want to upset anybody, but I will say that I think the extreme heat is too hard for the menopausal body. I can just tell my heart rate is so high when I go into those other saunas. So this is another door in to healing using heat in a different way. So it's fascinating to me.